Good morning, everybody. Well, help is on its way for politicians to figure out what is a woman. Yes, good news. Some interesting research on tattoos. We find out another Green MP who's connected to the grubby, hedonistic Burnett Foundation, formerly the AIDS Foundation. Oh, and the flies in those school lunches. What happened to those flies? Let's check it out. Good morning. It's the 23rd of April, middle of the week already. Wow. I like these 3-day weeks with public holidays at each end, don't you? I was filling in yesterday for Simon O'Connor, who's away for the week. Now, there will be no solid ground tomorrow morning, but tomorrow night we've got a special edition of Political Playback. I'll come back to that at the end of the program. But firstly, breaking news from yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but New Zealand First has put up a bill. And basically, it's to define what is a man and a woman. They've introduced a members' bill, and they want to ensure, according to Winston Peters, our country moves away from woke ideology that has crept in over the last few years. And obviously, the bill has been introduced following on the UK decision last week in the UK Supreme Court that figured out that trans women are not actually biological women. Yes, groundbreaking case, I know. And so New Zealand First have this bill, private members bill. Now that means it goes into the ballot. It's got to be drawn out of the biscuit tin. The big question is, where does ACT and National stand on this? Will they actually man up? You see what I did there? And the party wants the bill, New Zealand First wants to see woman defined in law as an adult human biological female and man defined as an adult human biological male. Pretty simple, isn't it? And they say the purpose of the amendment is to uphold legal certainty, protect the integrity of sex-based rights, and ensure that language in law reflects biological reality. Now, of course, there was a lot of media coverage. This was the New Zealand Herald stuff. They said the members' bill to ensure the biological definition. News Talk ZB said that Winston had said we should focus on the facts, and Radio New Zealand were talking about a revolving door of members' bills, obviously not understanding the political process. What they were referring to here is that you might remember before the election, New Zealand First put up a bill that said that if you're a dude, you would have to use the men's toilets, and if you're a woman, you use the women's toilets, and dudes could not go in the women's toilets. Remember that bill before the election? Well, New Zealand First have withdrawn that now and had this more wider encompassing bill that they've just proposed. But Radio New Zealand got very upset and think that, breaking news, they've withdrawn this bill just about toilets. Well, of course, this new bill has gone a lot wider than that. But of course, this is based on the What is a Woman campaign, which you may have signed. 23,500 people signed it when we presented the petition last August. And of course, it's looking to do exactly the same thing, define what is a woman so that there is no confusion based on an individual's sex at birth, either male or female, based on the biological reproductive system. And also we said that it would affect schools, sports, prisons, domestic violence centres, rape crisis centres, changing rooms, toilets, and other areas where biology, safety, or privacy are implicated that result in separate accommodations. Now, of course, the argument is that trans rights are infringed upon, discriminated against. No, they're not. Their rights aren't taken away. They just have to follow the determination of their biological sex. And they have all the rights and privileges that all other people of their biological sex have. It's really pretty simple. Now, so we'll watch that one with interest. And look, if the media did their job, they would be fronting up to Luxon from the Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, and David Seymour, and asking specifically, will you support this bill? Will you get it out of the ballot box, the cake tin, and make it a government bill? Let's get rid of this gender ideology nonsense. If the media were doing their job, they would ask Seymour and Luxon that question. But, yeah, are you expecting it? No, I'm not, because the media probably won't do their job. But let's hope. Now, interestingly, over in the UK, the Prime Minister has finally figured out, he's figured out that trans women aren't women. And it's been a humiliating turnaround. You probably won't see this in the New Zealand media reported, because he actually used to say that trans women are women back in 2022. And he also said that not every woman that has a baby has a cervix, or something to that effect. So basically saying that there are some men, or trans men, women who think they're men, having babies. But they'll still have the reproductive parts, Keir Starmer. But anyway, he's figured it out now that trans women aren't women. So there is some progress on this whole definition of woman, which probably was kicked off by President Trump when he signed that executive order saying that there are only two sexes. It's sort of like you're waking from a bad dream that we even have to make these types of statements, and these bills have to be put up. Oh, ironically, Chloe Schwarbrick from the Greens, Chloe Schwarbrick, from a co-leader of the Greens, said, "Why is Winston focusing on all this stuff? It's just a distraction, and we should be focusing on environmentalism and poverty, etc." Well, the message back to Chloe is, tell that to your MP Benjamin Doyle, who wants to have puberty blockers for all, campaigning for that. Is that also a fringe issue, Chloe? Now, also, remember that story about the flies in the school lunches? Yes, the complaint was made because a left-wing writer, her name is Emily Wright, she used to write for the Spin-Off, so you take everything said with a grain of salt, but said that they'd heard from a friend of a friend of a friend who also had a friend next door whose friend went to school and found that there was a fly in the school lunch. And of course, this was big news. But you'll notice here that a couple of weeks later, next minute, New Zealand Food Safety have not even been able to start the probe because there has been no evidence put up. So basically, it was just big porkies as part of the general campaign against school lunches. Actually, it's gone very quiet. I mean, I know it's school holidays, so maybe that's the reason it's gone quiet. Look, there is some other research that I just did want to make known to you. Firstly, this study that shows that regular users of marijuana are at risk for serious conditions, including strokes, heart attacks, cardiac arrhythmias, heart failure, myocarditis. Okay, we knew all that. But there's been a new study that comes out that says that increased risk of dementia can be added to the list. The latest survey from the University of Ottawa in Canada, and remember that Canada has legalized cannabis for recreational use, they said that someone who has an emergency room visit or hospitalization due to cannabis has a 23% increase risk of dementia within 5 years compared to someone who was at the hospital for another reason, and they have a 72% greater risk compared to the general population. And I mean, that's a pretty concerning study. I mean, we know that it affects the mental health, cannabis does, but, here's more evidence. And of course, part of the problem is because of the potency of the weed. The THC is far higher than the Woodstock weed or your parents' pot, as we used to say. Boy, New Zealand really dodged a bullet when we ignored the Drug Foundation and the Green Party and even the Labour Party, Andrew Little, remember, and Jacinda, who wouldn't actually say which way she voted, but we knew. But we dodged a bullet when we said no to legalising cannabis. This was an interesting one. I'm not sure what you think of tattoos. I'm not a fan of them, but boy, they have become a trend. But this Dr. Brian Lawenda, you probably haven't heard of him. He's a oncologist, and he's also published some books. But I read a commentary from him where he said, for many, tattoos are a form of self-expression, identity, or art, but new research suggests they also carry a hidden risk, one that lives under your skin and could silently raise your risk of cancer. A study from Denmark released this year followed over 2,300 sets of twins to ask a simple question: does tattoo ink increase the risk of cancer? And what they found was that skin cancer was 62% more common in tattooed individuals, and anybody with large tattoos, bigger than the palm of a hand, the risk of skin cancer more than doubled. The risk of lymphoma, a cancer of the immune system, was nearly 3 times higher in those with large tattoos. and a common skin cancer was almost 3 times more likely in tattooed individuals as well. So they argue that the tattoo ink migrates from the skin into lymph nodes and possibly other organs and trigger long-term inflammation, disrupting the immune system. Doesn't mean that every tattoo would develop cancer, but it does mean that the risk is real, especially with larger tattoos. And look, with the trend, I mean, yeah, I'm biased, I don't like tattoos, but people should be aware of the health concerns. A couple of other things. Firstly, in Texas, Texas, we hear a lot about promoting abortion in the United States and here in New Zealand, where unfortunately our abortion rate has gone up since Jacinda's legalizing of abortion, decriminalization. But in Texas, they have just committed $210 million to Thriving Texas Families programs. I've been wanting to tell you about this for a couple of weeks, but we keep on running out of time. But basically, the program promotes healthy pregnancy and childbirth. It supports mums who choose to have their baby. It increases access to resources that promote family and child development. It encourages families to stay together and support each other. It teaches parents to implement successful parenting techniques, and it teaches families to take care of themselves financially. And it provides personalised support to pregnant women so that mum feels ready to have her baby. Isn't that amazing? The Democrats wanted to put money into abortion groups, but the Republicans have put this $210 million into Thriving Texas Family Programs. Wow. Imagine if we could have that in New Zealand. On a more sobering note, latest data out of the Netherlands on euthanasia, really concerning. Nearly 10,000 people were euthanized in the Netherlands last year, a 10% increase from the last year. But there has been this is important, 60% increase in those suffering from psychological conditions. So not unbearable pain. It's from psychological decisions. And so 86% were due to common physical conditions like cancer, heart issues, nervous system disorders, and lung disorders. But there were 427 reports of euthanasia being granted to those suffering from dementia. So I'm not sure how consent kicks in there. And there were 219 derived from at least one psychological disorder. And last year, a child reported euthanasia due to unbearable suffering as a result of a physical condition. And listen to this one. There were 54 instances of what the report dubbed duo euthanasia, in which a couple opted to die together. Wow. That's the slippery slope of euthanasia. And unfortunately, there are attempts to make it slippery here in New Zealand as well. Just one other thing, interesting discovery over the weekend, and you may have seen this on social media. But we have another Green MP who's associated with the Burnett Foundation, which is the grubby AIDS Foundation with the hedonistic sexuality and perversion. Here's the Green MP modelling no talking about your wife. Don't delete Grindr. This is a campaign, which I won't tell you the name of the campaign because it involves the F word. But it's a campaign from 2019. And no, you can't have the Wi-Fi password because you didn't invite the person over to sit on their phone. Yeah. There seems to be a connection between the Green Party and the Burnett Foundation. And that may explain a lot of the ideology coming out of the Green Party and why Chloe was so upset about New Zealand First bill to say that a woman is an adult human female. I mean, my question to Chloe is, Chloe, what is a woman? Anyway, we will probably talk about it more tomorrow night because on Political Playback, because Simon is away this week. Rodney Hyde is my special guest for Political Playback, so that is going to be a fun conversation. I just want to just have, I see your comments pouring through, and I'm just grabbing the ones on YouTube before we wrap up today. Catherine says that it's partly why she voted for Winnie, that because of bills like this. Dean says the lunacy was that there was ever a question about what is a woman. That is true. And Stephen says, is this why Joe Biden had his memory issues? That was relating to the cannabis story as well. That's why it's called dope, Stephen. Dean, in relation to tattoos, says you don't see bumper stickers on Ferraris. Yes, I've heard that line before. Gordon says the fact that grown-ups have to even have debates shows that there are huge problems. If you do not what a man and a woman is, well, sometimes you've just got to shake your head and wonder why. And Marie says a bad dream, a nightmare related to the Burnett Foundation and the Green MPs' connection to the Burnett Foundation. Right, we are out of time. As I said, Simon is away this week, so no solid ground tomorrow morning, but make sure you join us tomorrow night because Rodney Hyde will be joining me and we'll be having some fun talking about all these issues and more on Political Playback. All right, we're out of time. You have a great Wednesday. See you later.